Okay, so good afternoon to all of you. Because of this delay, it has become afternoon. Otherwise, it would have been morning till now. So, good afternoon to all of you, the participants. And the topic, as you can see from the development of a pavement maintenance system, I will be discussing on that. And I start with the beautiful view of our campus. And you can see the pavement on the right hand side. That is the national highway. So it doesn't require any maintenance at this point of time, but definitely it will be requiring after a few years. Major maintenance, I should say, but that is maintenance you need to do all the time. Now, this presentation I have prepared that is based on the work done by one of my students, Dr. Amarendra Kumar Sandra, for his PhD. It was some time back, a few years back. It provides, you cannot, whatever Amarendra has done in his PhD, you cannot cover everything in the in this presentation. So a brief outline I would like to give, and you have got some many specific problems. You can send it to me, email to me, and I can write to him in case I am unable to answer some of them. Hopefully, broadly I will be able to explain most of the things. But in case certain issues are there, because he is the person who worked on it, any issues I can always send your questions to him. He's not present now, so I'll contact him and then I can share the answers he might be having. Now, importance of highway pavement maintenance, particularly we are going to discuss on flexible pavements. Now, when you construct a pavement, whether you use it or not, it is going to deteriorate. Even with, when the traffic is even not very high, and even there is no traffic, let us say, hypothetically, if you consider, some maintenance will be needed. Because of the traffic, particularly, mainly it deteriorates because of traffic, then the weather condition, poor drainage, environmental factors, many other things. Now, you will find many studies in the world, particularly in the developing countries, how much money we are losing because of poor roads, because we are unable to maintain them. The roads are there, the pavements are there, we have invested so much of money into it, but many a time we forget about its maintenance. Now, recently, a few years back, uh, one of my friends, he raised an issue because we are working for development of rural roads at that time under PMGSOA program. The question was raised whether we should go for new construction at all if we are unable to maintain the roads already we have built. Because if you construct a road and don't maintain it, it is as good after a few years, it is as good as not having the road at all. The kind of loss we are making because of poor pavements is tremendous. And once the pavement becomes poor, then your cost increases, cost of travel, the vehicle operating cost, everything increases. So total loss, because of delay and other things, it comes in terms of billion of dollars. If you look into the net also, you'll find that we are losing so much of money because we are unable to maintain the roads. Fortunately for India, last few years, maybe 10 years, we have understood the importance of maintenance. Maybe you understood it earlier because we didn't have enough funds to spend. So that is one of the issues. It is a positive sign that the state governments, even they're putting aside some money, most of the state governments, not all of them, some money for maintenance of roads. As I mentioned, the roads will get worse and worse with time, with weather changes, traffic, etc. But we are, as users, we are more concerned with the functional deterioration. Structural deterioration is also very important, but being the user, you may not feel it. If we find a very smooth road, we are very happy with that. But that road may not be structurally very strong. It may fail suddenly after 6 months or 1 year. Inside something is happening we can't see. But when I'm traveling on the road or driving, whatever I experience on the road surface, that comes under functional deterioration. So it is deteriorating and the users are continuously feeling that. Structural deterioration also will be felt, it is major, etc. But it is not, sometimes, most of the cases, it is not visible in that aspect. But if there is some, they are interrelated as well. When it becomes functional deterioration, we'll find that there may be something structurally wrong at that point of time. But from the user's point of view, functional deterioration is more important, though they are connected. We experience rather, not important, I should say, we experience it directly. Structure also will be reflected in the functioning of the pavement as well. So there are many, say, parameters or distresses that you can see: potholes, raveling, cracking, unevenness, including depression along longitudinal profile, ruts along wheel path, etc., shoving, uh, pavement surface getting polished along wheel path. It happens. Formation of large waves along the longitudinal profile, etc., etc. And there are a few more also you can add. And you don't see all these distresses in all stretches of the road. So some stretches you will be finding some parameters maybe. In worst condition, you'll be getting all of them in one stretch of road. Now the question is, how do you compare the pavement condition? That, okay, this stretch is better, this stretch is slightly better, this stretch is very good, kind of. Now, it, as we have mentioned, it depends on the kind of distresses we see on the surface. Potholes, then raveling, all kinds of things are there combined. So if there are so many parameters involved, so many distresses are involved, it was thought of, is it possible to combine them together? And by one unit, we should be in a position to explain. So then this unevenness index came up. So that is the cumulative value of pavement surface undulations per unit length of road along the longitudinal profile is expressed as unevenness index and or roughness index. So if we just travel along the pavement surface, then you can face the unevenness, you can experience the unevenness based on the condition of the road. So the distresses will be reflected by one unit if you can represent the unevenness. If there are many potholes, the unevenness will be more. If there are ups and downs, again unevenness will be more. If major cracks are there, unevenness will be more. So if combined, the total effect can be represented in terms of unevenness or roughness. Now, roughness is measured by using bump integrator, or nowadays laser profilers are there. There may be a few more that are coming up in future. But traditionally, we use bump integrators in India particularly. And it is generally expressed in terms of millimeters per kilometer. So if you run a wheel on the pavement, it can measure the ups and downs, unevenness, and per kilometer the total amount of ups and downs combined together. It is not positive and negative, positive and negative combined together. So millimeter per kilometer length or meter per kilometer length it is being expressed. Now, usually there is a thumb rule as such as per IRC that if unevenness is less than 2000 per kilometer, it is considered as a moderately good road, and it is very poor when it is more than exceeds 3000 millimeter per kilometer. There is another term which is called present serviceability index. It is not in vogue that much nowadays, but the condition of the road was measured by PSI in the beginning, before this instruments came up. So assessment of the road condition is done by a panel of road users. Those who use the road, they will be asked to rate the road between 0 to 5, and they will put the number. It is between 4 to 5 it is very good, 3 to 4 it is good, 2 3 is fair kind of, and then very poor is 0 to 1, and then based on that the rating will be done. And then you'll go to the field and find out the different distresses that are visible on the road. That will be reflected by the experience faced by the user. So I am using the road. I am saying this particular road is getting a scale of 3 or 4 or 5. Now you go to the field and find out why I am putting it 3, why am I putting it 0, because of these distresses that are visible. So I measured the distresses and try to correlate with the experience of the users, like 4, 5, 3, etc., whatever value you get. So PSI, present serviceability index, is represented by a regression equation is being conducted, and we find these values where F1, F2, F3 are the physical measurements of cracking, all this kind of, not exactly cracking, I should not say, all the distresses that you see on the surface. F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, it may be more than that, it may be less than that also, maybe 2 or 3 distresses are there in that particular stretch. And based on this, we can develop a correlation. So later on, once we get the values, you cannot ask the experts to drive on a stretch all the time. So you'll be getting the values of F1, F2, etc. You collect it and then put those values, because already the equation is established. You will be getting the PSI value. So it is being considered that if PSI is of 2.5, maximum value is 5, it is in a terminal stage, so we need to do something about the pavement. It requires major maintenance. Now, why do you need to go for pavement maintenance? I have said we are losing a huge amount of money by not maintaining our roads. And as I told you that is it really worth construction of new roads if we cannot maintain the existing roads? So we need to provide safe and convenient travel facilities to the road users. We have developed some asset. We are supposed to preserve it and avoid rapid deterioration of pavement structure, because if you delay it, it will further get deteriorated, and bringing it back to the normal will be original state will be very, very expensive. So it is always better to have a maintenance plan ready. So after every year, I'll be doing this much. In the life of the pavement will be, and the condition, the quality of the experience by the users will be much better if you keep on doing your maintenance. So this is, this is one, just to show, not exactly I'm just want to show the red line curve. So as you can see, it started with when you construct the road in very good condition, gradually it will deteriorate. But if we take action in between, as it has been shown, the defer action, don't look into that. But when it has gone, for example, good is 5, when it has become 4.5, if you take some action, again, it may go up to 5. So in the process, if you extrapolate it, you will find that the road can pavement can last for a longer period of time. That is one of the reasons for maintenance. So if I know the lifespan of the road is, if you don't do anything, no maintenance, it is going to last for 5 years. But after 1 year, you do little bit of patching, etc. It will last for 6 years. Like that, continuously, if you maintain, it not be perennial. It will not last forever. But the length of or serviceability of the road can be increased tremendously by if you take measures of maintenance. Now, I think these things you might be knowing the routine maintenance. Mostly it is, surface drainage, patching of potholes, age drops. So routinely we are supposed to do that. It is being done. Then preventive maintenance, that we can see some kind of distresses, which may become a big problem after some time. So you can see, started developing fine cracks. Then you can immediately seal it. Or there are certain potholes already appearing on the road surface. If you patch it immediately, if you delay it, the potholes will become larger, and in the process, some potholes will join together and the road condition will deteriorate tremendously. Periodic maintenances, there are several maintenance requirements that are not covered under routine and preventive maintenance. So, resurfacing of pavements may be required to restore functional efficiency that have been developed over a time period. So over a period of time, definitely it is going to happen that it will not remain functional fully. And that's why you will need to do for periodic maintenance. And there are certain special cases, emergency, certain flash flood or earthquake. These are special cases, we'll have to maintain them. And at that point of time, you really do not know what kind of so distresses will be appearing. Sometimes the portion of the road also is taken away during floods, etc. So that is another one which could be done, which should be done very quickly, because we'll have to restore the traffic as quickly as possible. So these are the basically, again, you can subdivide them into many subdivisions of maintenance as such. So basically, this is the I just wanted to introduce about the importance of maintenance. What kind of maintenance are there? Now, what are the challenges? As I have mentioned already, because it is going to the functional condition of the highway is going to deteriorate, no doubt about that. Repeated load of vehicles and environmental factors. Now, many countries have failed to maintain good roads due to lack of funds. You may say, why, if we know that maintenance is so important, then why you are unable to maintain the roads? The main issue, I'm talking about the state highways and MDRs, etc., where the state is directly involved in construction and maintenance of the roads. They don't have enough funds to maintain. So the investment come for construction, but lack of say maintenance, ultimately it doesn't help at all in the long run, because we are not getting any funds to maintain the roads. So after maybe 5 years, the road becomes almost unusable. So there are number of maintenance management systems are available in the form of comprehensive packages. HDM is one of them. There are locally also many such things are available. But most of the cases, they require a huge amount of data. At present, I think we are understanding the importance of data and we are collecting it, particularly for national highways and the rural roads. PMGSI roads, we have tremendous amount of data available nowadays. But it may not be possible to get the detailed data for other roads as such. And my own experience says that we went to a state highway a long time back in West Bengal and wanted to carried out a study, and PWD engineers also were there. If you ask them when the road was constructed, what kind of measures were taken in between, so there is no history of that maintenance, when it was constructed, what kind of construction was done, what kind of layers were put. So you will have to, you get confused if you go deep, if you dig it up, you really do not know what was done. They could not tell that line stabilization was done on the road. So we had some doubt. So we asked them. Ultimately, we found line stabilization was done. But if you talk the local um engineers, they didn't have any clue because there was no system of keeping the records. In those days, maybe computers also not very prevalent. So that is one of the problems we used to face, or even now we're facing, uh, because maybe construction of the road, the villagers may say it was constructed and such year, but after that, what are the maintenance work that were done? Nobody keeps track sometimes. It is being done, but no written records. Many a time it is. Nowadays, we are improving quite a bit, definitely. Then collection of data at frequent intervals is also very expensive. Uh, if you really want to maintain the roads, we'll have to collect data continuously, which may not be, it requires a lot of manpower as well as funding. The state governments find it slightly difficult, but the national highways, as you know, the funding comes from the central government. So it is much better compared to the roads, except for a few states. They're very, very methodical. Most of the states are suffering. Now, at that time, what we thought that let us try to develop something a simple method of maintaining the roads, and we'll give that package to the public works department at various states. It will not require a lot of data as such, and they can use it, and it is very user-friendly software is prepared. So it is essential to develop a simple and user-friendly software for maintaining the flexible pavement, particularly for stretches, and for a network, not for one stretch as such. So this case study was main objective when he started working was to establish the relationship between road roughness with causative distress parameter. That is, develop a relationship to prioritize the pavement stretches using appropriate prioritization technique. Now, prioritization in terms of which particular stretch should be considered or given preference for maintenance, because fund is always limited. You'll not be getting funds, unlimited funds. If there are 10 stretches, you may have enough funds to, to take care of, say, two or three. Or some kind of distresses can only be addressed, not all of them. To identify the homogeneous road stretches to a clustering technique and developing methodology to find the optimum number of pavement stretches. So we are talking about a network now. Let us say one district, whole network has been taken. We are divided into nodes and different stages. And we have collected data or different varieties of roads. It may be MDR, it may be SH, even National Highway also have included here just to show. National Highway is usually taken care of by the central government. So it was not a part of that. Even then, we just wanted to see how does it work. If I am the in charge of distribution of funds of all the kinds of road, National Highway, State Highway, MDR, etc., then what kind of system we should. Otherwise, you can take out National Highway because generally it is taken care of by the central government. And develop a practical network level pavement management strategy using the outcome of the above stages. So if there are 1,000 or 2,000 stretches, you cannot look into them. So there should be some process of putting them same kind of distresses, same kind of problems, having the same kind of problems in the pavement, same kind of IRI value. So you should put them in one category, second category, third category, etc. Because we don't have funds to take care of everything. So which one should get the priority? Decided to work on that. So in this case, how we went about it was the selection and identification of pavement stretches. And it is specifically done in such a way that you don't get all kinds of, because, similar kind of, same kind of stretches, having same kind of distances was not looked into. We tried to incorporate as many distances as possible. But some of the distances which are very rare, we wanted to avoid them. Then pavement condition and pavement roughness survey was conducted. Condition survey was conducted at the same time using the instrument we have, fifth wheel roughness meter. So we use that to measure the roughness and develop a relationship between roughness and pavement distresses. Now here, another thing we did, because if you know, when you use this instrument, we are supposed to go at a certain speed, 32 kilometers per hour. But sometimes, because of the traffic and other things, it is not possible to run the vehicle, bump integrated, in at exactly at 32 kilometers per hour. So that part we are not going to show, but just I remembered it now. So if we are going at 52 kilometers or 42 or less than 32, then whatever values you get, we collected enough data for that, and so that how to convert those values to if it runs at 32 kilometers per hour, what kind of IRI value you are going to get, roughness value you are going to get. That kind of relationship also developed, because considering that when we go into the field, we find that it is very difficult to maintain a speed of 32 kilometers per hour all the time. So you will have to vary. So if it varies, we'll have to, because international standard is that we'll have to go at this speed. So how to convert if speed you cannot maintain to bring it to 30 kilometers per hour, that relationship we develop, though it is not being presented here. Okay, now then once we get the data, then we develop the relationship between the IRI value, International Roughness Index, and the distresses that you see on the road surface. So that way we collected enough data for different stages. Then prioritization and grouping of pavement stages. That is most important part. If you want to maintain, you cannot, if you look into the data, if there are 10,000 stages, you cannot, do everything in one go. So we'll have to prioritize that, okay, this much money is available. I'll be taking care of these stretches first, or these, say, certain stretches, only these distances will be taken care of. Otherwise, we don't have enough funds to do that.
Hello, Ankit.
So, yeah.
Ankit ji, hello.
Then the grouping of the stages. If there are 10,000, we can divide into different groups considering the priority you are supposed to give them. So let us say there are 1,000 stages. They are having different kinds of, say, distresses. All began as each stage having 5, 6, 7 kinds of distresses. IRI value is there. So we'll have to club them in different categories so that they are of the same kind of nature they are having, same kind of problems they are having. So we'll have to categorize them as well as prioritize them. Which particular stages or category should get the first priority. So classifying the stages into manageable number of groups. You have got 100 groups also, it will be very difficult. So how many manageable number? There is a, for categorization also there are certain methods that we used at that time. And then development of a decision-making software, finding rank, predicting roughness, and then grouping, maintenance of stretches under budgetary constraints, and budget summary, etc. How much money will be needed if you want to improve the whole stretch as such. So that was the whole purpose of this process. So basically, we have taken network of roads, irrespective of whether it is national highway, state highway, or MDR. So as if one person or one office is going to manage the whole network. So now network, we are divided into number of stretches, and we have collected data from each stretch, IRI value. At the same time, we have also collected the through visual inspection, the distresses that are available and the amount, the area which is being covered. All this data were with us. So basic data that you need for decision-making process, that is with us now. Then how to take decisions. One is the how much fund is available. Second is we cannot take all of them together. So we'll have to divide them into number of groups having the same kind of characteristics, same kind of distresses, same kind of IRI values. So that we have done. And then which group should get the first priority, so that fund is limited. We'll be trying to improve those stretches first, then second, third, if money is there, then third, fourth, etc. etc. So that is the whole purpose of, and purpose is to develop a simple, say, computer program, which will help us to take a decision, what we should do and how to go about that. Now, these are the stretches because we cannot have long stretches as such. So we divided small stretches of 50 meters. So it was done in Rajasthan, National Highway 11, that is Sikar to Jaipur. So there we took three kilometers in two different areas and 60 stretches there, 50 kilometer each, 50 meter each, I have said. Then Ringas and Sikar, again it is National Highway. Then Singhana, Narnaul, that is State Highway. That way you can see there are state highways, MDRs, and we have collected detailed data for 50 meter stretches separately. So every 50 meter we have collected the unevenness value. At the same time, for 50 meters, what is the kind of distresses we have observed, what the area that is getting affected, also we have collected in this. So as you can see, MDR, most of the MDRs, and there is a bypass in Pilani that also we have taken. So totally, there are 858 stages. Apparently, number looks to be very large, but it is small stages, 50 meters each. In actual practice, when you really want to go to the field and work on that, I think the 50-meter stage is not the ideal one. It is just for the research purpose, we have taken small, but generally it may be 1 kilometer or half a kilometer distance should be taken. We didn't have enough resources and even time to collect data in that scale. So we wanted to have as many data as possible by taking smaller sections. Now, pavement distresses and severity level. Now, there is a standard from the literature, we have collected this. So we found that these are the distresses that we have observed. Cracking was there, potholes, raveling, patching, rutting, and age failures. So basically, these 6 kind of failures or distresses we have observed in all of them. Now, as you know, cracking again can be divided in many categories, different kind of cracking, so I'm not going in that detail. But again, cracking has been categorized into 3, low, medium, high. Similarly, potholes, low, medium, high. And these are standard tables are available. We have not developed it. Based on that, these parameters, that is 6 distresses, and each distresses has been divided into 3. So there are 18 kind of number of, say, data that we have collected. So for every 50 meter, all these, whether the crack is medium or high, that we have looked into. Potholes are, it is low, medium or high, all this data has been collected. And it requires, it was done manually. So it was a quite Herculean task. But since the length was only 50 meters, so it was manageable for us to do that. Similarly for patching, rutting, etc., etc. So we have specifically said that, okay, if it is low means, for example, rutting is low, so barely noticeable, depth less than 6 mm. Similarly, if it is between 6 to 25, it is medium, and above 25, it is high. So that way you have categories, it is very clearly defined. And those who went to the field, they are properly trained. We took them to the field nearby and asked them to do physically for some of the stretches and monitored them, and then only they were sent to the field. Usually we use the students, so usually you get very accurate results from the students. If you give it to some, organizations, sometimes you don't get very good data. So students very enthusiastically they participated, and they are trained properly for collection of data, and it was done. Now this is one of the structures which is in a very poor shape, as you can see. So we have identified the wheel path first, and then we collected the data. And this is the way bump integrated survey was done on the wheel path. So initially, because what happens many a time, the maintaining the wheel on that particular stage becomes a challenge. So we made two lines in advance. First, we went there and identified the wheel paths. Wheel path means when the maximum of the vehicles are using that particular path. And then we drew the lines, and we, as you can see, one person is sitting behind and maintaining that yes, wheel is on the along those two lines only. So so much of care was taken for collection of data. Now the question is, there are so many distresses, as we have said, 6 different distresses we have considered. They are of 3 different categories again: low, medium, high. Now the question is, which one is affecting the most on the unevenness value, and which one should get what kind of weightage? So we thought of going for some expert opinion survey and to ascertain the weights of the pavement distress parameters. What do they think about it? And they were academicians as well as field engineers, researchers. So they gave their opinion on each one of them. And we didn't ask them to put some value. We said it is negligible, low, moderate, high, and very high. So it is easy to give rating in that way. So for each kind of distresses and the 3 categories, we requested the experts to give their opinion, what kind of impact do they think it will be having on the unevenness index. What we did was a questionnaire was sent along with photographic clues and cues. We went to the field, took the photographs. What is negligible is clearly defined. What is low, what is moderate, high, very high. So accordingly, it was sent to them and they gave their opinion. The development of model between pavement roughness and distress. Now, as you know, when you use bump integrator, we are supposed to calibrate it with Merlin. And Merlin is a small equipment. I think most of you might have seen it. The cycle kind of wheel is there. So when you use the bump integrator, once you go to the field, we'll have to again recalibrate it occasionally. So once you go to the field, come back, calibrate it again. And how to calibrate? In comparison with the Merlin. So we did it religiously at a certain interval. At different operating speeds, basically. Roughness model for predicting a roughness from pavement distances on the parameter. As we have said, we collected the data and then unevenness also there. We tried to develop the relationship. So roughness model for predicting the roughness from pavement distress parameters. The following steps involved in developing the model: the standardization of roughness values obtained at different operating speeds, and minimum unevenness value on a virgin road surface. Fortunately, we got some stretches where there are no, newly laid, and we could get some without having distresses. What kind of unevenness value we get? Because even under the new constructed pavement, some unevenness always will be there. So what is that? So we could collect that, because fortunately new constructions are coming up in the nearby areas. And as you know, once you have got the unevenness value, there is an international internationally accepted relationship which gives you the roughness, because international roughness index is the standard of representation of the unevenness. So whatever value we got in the bump indicator, we convert it in terms of IRI with the internationally accepted. So as you can see, so if you know the bump indicator value, we can immediately, using this equation, we can find it into, convert it into IRI value. Now, normalization of these stress parameters also we did. If this is the space, then what is the total area, percentage of area, which is, for example, crack we are trying to find out. So what is the percentage area of crack? We calculated that if total area is this, out of this much area is this, what is the percentage that we calculated. And only rutting, as you know, it is longitudinal, it happens in terms of meter per kilometer was followed. Therefore, now in this study, we have developed or collected data from 858 stages. So 858 data points were there. Out of that, 770 data points were used for developing the model, and 10% was used for, almost 90% of the data, and 10% of the data was used for validation. So we have got so much of data, whatever it is, 858 data points, stretches, full data was available. So 90% of that was considered for calibrating the model, and later on, once we have calibrated, we have tried to fit in a check or validate with 10% of the data that we collected. So this is the equation that we have got. So RL stands for raveling low, then RM stands for raveling medium. That way, so after we have got the enough data, the data points that we have got, 770 data we had, and we have got the value of IRI anyway. So using that, by using regression equation, we have developed this model and got quite good R-square value. Some other statistical tests are also there done, and we found that, though I am not showing it here, they are found to be acceptable. So now we have developed the relationship between IRI and the different kind of distresses that we have observed on the field. 6 different kinds were considered of to the extent also severity 1, 2, 3, low, medium, and high. So considering that, we have developed this equation. Now what we did, because the equation was for 770 data points, so equation is already have observed. Now we wanted to validate that. We have got 10% data still not being used. Then we find out there and plotted it, measured versus the predicted. So using that equation, the value we have got and what we have measured in the field. And this is the kind of relationship that we have got. So mean absolute percentage deviation, because if you look into the exact, not exact value, the field value and the predicted value, the difference and overall percentage, if you consider, it was coming to 8.08 variation. So which may be considered as a quite acceptable in such kind of data, because once you go to the field, the kind of data you collect, it cannot be perfect data as such. So what we did was, we are quite happy with this relationship that we have developed, the regression equation, because I think one of the reasons was that the data was collected by the students and they did it very, very meticulously. And we have got sufficient number of data. I think 770 number of data is, I should not say highly, it is a large number, but for a research project, it is a good data. And if it is authentic, it is a good kind of data we observe. So that's why when we tried to apply the equation, try to find it out, we didn't find much of difference in it. So it is 8.08 rather, mean absolute percentage deviation. So there will be each point there will be some variation. If you take the overall mean absolute deviation is 8.08, which is because if you even take out the outliers, it may improve further. There would be some, but I think some of the outliers are taken away, but not all of them. So we kept this, and accordingly we find that it is quite, the equation that we had developed was quite useful. Now another, suddenly it was not expected, we got this opportunity that after we have collected the data in one stage close to the place from where we were collecting the data, some maintenance work was done. So we have got the unevenness index data. Suppose we have taken it today, and after a month or so, the road was, the particular stage maintenance work was done. So, potholes were taken care of, etc., etc. Not overlaying was not there. So, what will be the impact of improving? Also, you can, so again, we conducted study on those stages and then compared, and we find out the improvement that has taken place by some maintenance work, not full, all the things were not done. So how IRI value has changed after maintenance work, we could compare. In fact, this was really unexpected that we'll be getting this opportunity. The first figure that we have seen the road condition was really bad, lot of raveling, and I think the condition is so poor that the state government decided to improve that. Maintenance work was done within 2-3 months. So accordingly, we could get an opportunity to see the difference after maintenance and before maintenance. And also try to predict this value and try to check whether they're matching or not. So as you can see, the measured IRI value before maintenance, that is shown there, and predicted IRI value before maintenance, that has been shown here at different stages. After maintenance, what is the value we have got, and what was the predicted value also we have shown. So you can see that measured IRI value after maintenance and predicted IRI value after maintenance, there are not much difference. There are differences, but it is not absolutely, completely, you cannot say that wide variation was there. It was there. So this is one, just by chance we got this opportunity and have seen that this model is moderately okay, that can be used in the field. Now next comes the prioritization. We have got the data. Now we are happy with the model that we have developed, the regression equation. So if we know the distresses, then we can directly find out the IRI value. So that using that equation. So that has been done now. Now we'll have to prioritize. So now we'll have to go for maintenance. We have got the data. We have got the equation, we have got the data, we have got the IRI value, then what to do with that? So we'll have to take some decisions for maintenance. So that is the whole purpose, what they can do. In most of the studies, weights of various distance parameters were directly expressed in quantifiable terms, thereby neglecting the uncertainty. That is, we went to the field, whatever, care you take, how religiously you try to do it, there would be error perception. One person may say that 10% of the area is raveling is there, is observed. Another person may say 12%. So it cannot be absolute. It is done manually. There will be some variation. So that is one thing we'll have to accept. Uncertainty was quantified by researchers through fuzzy approach. And the present study also used it. Many, we search the literature because there is some fuzziness in our observation. So how to take care of that? Some papers we got, people have already done it. So we use the same method. Now, that is fine. We have used it, fuzzy thing we have done for quantification. But for a large network, if we prioritize, there are 1,000 stretches. If you prioritize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you will forget about what you have done. So we'll have to, the next objective was to group the stretches into a number of categories, not many, so that we can prioritize. So that this group should get the first priority, this group should get the second priority. So we'll have to do that. So for a large network, as we have said, our main objective is to develop it for a network. So instead of individual prioritization, grouping was useful. So grouping was done using clustering techniques, a statistical method of doing that for determining optimum number of clusters. Depending on the data that you have collected, all kinds of parameters, the data was fit in, and it shows a graph like this, which will tell you what is the optimum number of clusters in which you can divide the whole kind of data you have. So stretches were divided into number of clusters. And what should you may say, I would like to divide into 5 clusters or 10 clusters, 12 clusters. That is one option. Otherwise, there is option also statistically you can do that. What is the optimum number of clusters you should get into? It is always better to have the optimum number rather than more or less. The ranking of pavement stretches in network of roads. In case of network level maintenance, the stretches would be from different functional classes of highways. Hence, a preference should be given to the highways based on the importance. Accordingly, the fuzzy priority index would be multiplied with that. So we cannot, as we have mentioned, the network-based approach. We have got national highway. Again, I'm saying that national highway should not have been added because it is being taken care of in a practical purposes. It is being taken care of by the central government. But we have considered it just for the sake of research purposes. Now, a national highway should get, when we are taking the maintenance work, national highway should get more priority than a major district road, depending on the traffic also. So if a particular stretch of a road on the national highway is damaged, and a stretch of road in the state highway and say MDR, major district that damage, so we are saying that they are not of the same category. National highway should get the higher priority compared to others. But by what percentage? So that also we have developed a kind of weightage parameter. Expressway and national highways for high level traffic, number of commercial vehicle is very, very high, 5,000 and more. Prioritization factor is 1. Similarly, if it is medium, then it is 2. 0.9 is the prioritization factor. Then it is low, it is 0.8. That is, traffic is low. So depending on the importance, we are giving them extra weightage to the stretches, prioritized points, the stretches that we have got. Now, if there are 2 stretches of the same category, one in national highway, one is say major district road, after clustering we have got both of them in the same category. But out of that, which one should get the higher priority? Accordingly, these weightages were considered. Prioritization factor we have identified, and accordingly, for example, in a other kind of roads, MDR, etc., when it is low, it is only 0.6. So having the same kind of distresses, other road or MDR mainly, for low quality, it is 0.6 is the weightage you are giving, whereas the same road, if it is the same kind of characteristics by the national highway, it will getting higher priority. So we are multiplying the priority with this factor to even it out, to identify or taking care of the importance of the stages, how important the stage is. Definitely national highways having more importance compared to state highways, and state highways will be more importance to MDS. So development of software for pavement maintenance at network level, and user-friendly software package was developed in Visual Basic, and specifically, we are closely working with the PWD, though it was not a sponsored project as such, but PWD helped us quite a bit. We explained to them that it will ultimately help them in making decisions. So accordingly, we worked closely with them, and they gave us some input also how to go about that. So a software is developed keeping in view particularly the need of the public works department. Now here, one option we have taken, that we have given full freedom to the policymaker to take decisions. For example, there are three stretches having the same kind of problem, IRI value. But policy may be taken, okay, let us take that particular stretch where the number of potholes is high. We get priority to that. Though having the same IRI value, that stretch will be taken up and potholes will be filled in. Or it may say, okay, all the potholes of this size of all the three stretches should be filled in. So that kind of decision-making process, decision-making power has been given to the policymaker. So once this software is ready, we have got the data has been fed into the computer. Now we'll sit together, some of them will sit together. So, okay, what should get the priority? Should we look into the state highways first? Or should we look into the MDRs first? That they have got now suppose up the priority, they may say, okay, let us consider MDRs first. Or we'll consider, say, national highway first. So that kind of decision, even among the stretches, which one to take first, not on the basis of their liking, but based on certain criteria, they will have to take a decision. So application of the software has been explained with an example with 45 stretches from different functional classes we are in. So this is one example I am going to show, where we have considered 45 stretches for which the data was collected separately beyond the already 868 or some data we have collected. As an example, a total of 45 stretches comprising 15 each from three functional categories: major district roads, state highway, and national highways. So 15 from major district road, 15 from state highways, and 15 from national highways we have considered. And 15 uniform sections of 100-meter length each. So this time we have gone for a real strength, the real life situation when we have collected data for 100-meter at a stretch. Pavement distance parameters, cracking, raveling, potholes were collected, and all data were collected from three different severity index, etc. And also along the pavement condition, traffic data also was collected. So this is a real life solution we are trying to give. Real life data we are going to put there. So we have collected data separately for 100 meter each for three different categories of roads, and all kinds of distresses also were collected. And at the same time, traffic data also collected, because traffic data will tell us what is the importance level we are going to put there. So this is the data that has been shown, just sample screen or screenshot of the entering detail of pavement stretches. So as you can see, road number 1 is, change from this to this. What is the functional class? It is MDR. All kinds of, detail is there. We have developed it so that directly it can be used better. And this is the Excel sheet for data that has been provided to the.
Yes, it is.
So sample screen for inputting pavement distress data through an Excel sheet. So we have developed. You will have to have the Excel sheet, and this data will be directly fed into the system. Our software will take care of that. Now, prioritization of pavement stretches. Now, prioritization of stretches is important to develop a strategy. We'll have to prioritize the stretches. As we have said, it should be in groups. And severity of distress is difficult to measure accurately, as we have mentioned already. How severe it is, I may say it is, very severe. My friend may say it is, medium range. Somebody may say it is not that much important. So it cannot be measured, say, accurately. So expert opinion, as we have mentioned already, survey was conducted to assess the importance of extent and severity both. What is the extent? Suppose there is a pothole. What is the size? What is the depth? And the size. Size is the extent and severity is the kind of depth, etc. On functional quality of pavement, how it is going to affect the functioning of the pavement as such. So that data was collected from the experts, and accordingly pavement priority index was calculated using it. So we have developed, all this data is there. Now directly, if you don't use any kind of fuzziness, you can directly find out what is the priority you can get. But here we have used some fuzzy technique, multi-criteria decision making process has been used to quantify the pavement priority index. So which pavement stretches should get what kind of value we are going to get, that has been calculated. So as you can see here, pavement priority ranking index was calculated using the technique. Otherwise, if you don't want to put MCDM and fuzziness, you can directly, but that will not be the correct approach as such, because these values are quite different, not quite different. Quite fuzziness is there in our approach because it depends on the persons who are collecting the data. For taking care of that, and it is a multi-criteria decision making, but there are so many criteria there. If it is a only one parameter, only based on IRI value, if you want to categorize them, there is no issue. Based on IR, these are the categories. But we have done it considering all the distresses of different severity into consideration, and accordingly we have given some pavement ranking index, and accordingly the ranking was done. Now, once this is done, then we have got to, all the stretches are grouped into optimum number. So we feed the data, and now the clustering technique is that, which will tell me that what is the optimum number of clusters that you can have. So here, by this, actually the graph comes and which tells us what is the optimum number. So accordingly, we have got, there are 5 different clusters. Optimal number of clusters will be 5. We have got 45 data points, and out of that we can divide the whole data depending on kinds of distresses, etc. That can be have 5 different clusters that we have considered. So initially these are the clusters. So as you can see, there are 3 stretches where the situation, when the higher number means it is really in bad situation, the 25 to 25. So it is very high value of ranking index. Next is, there are 2 stretches having slightly lower, etc. That way, gradually we have identified all the stretches and grouped them in 5 categories. So 3 stretches is the first category. The stretch number falling in different groups are presented in the next slide. Let me show you. Now here, the group number 1, that is it requires immediate attention. S1, M1, S2. That is 1 MDR and 2 state highways, and total number 3 in that category. Similarly, in the group 2, there are 2 stretches only. So out of 45 stretches, 2 of them are in one category who are in a very bad shape. Second category, only 2 stretches are there. They are also relatively in poor shape. Then number 4 category, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 14 stretches which are in moderately okay kind of situation, but there are issues there. And number 5th, there are 23 stretches which are again slightly better off compared to them. So from the whole stretches, all the 45 stretches, we have divided into number of groups. And each group, which group should get the first priority, second, third, fourth, fifth, is being given there. Now first group again, which are the stretches? So that is also you can identify. So first group, S1, M1, S2, these are the 3 stretches we will have to look into. Then we can go detail into it, really speaking, that okay, now if take out the data for S1, what were the distresses that were there? potholes were there or some other kind of distresses were there. But you can again go back and see, and accordingly you can decide what we need to do about that. Sorry. It may be observed that out of the 3 stretches falling in group number 1, 2 are from SH and 1 from MDR. And there are no stretch from NH in group number 1 and 2, which shows that usually national highways are better maintained than other groups of highways. So that was one of the reasons for including national highway into our analysis. It clearly is coming out that they are well maintained compared to these state highways, or because they are not to be seen in the first 2 categories at all. Maybe in the, let me check whether NH is there in the 3rd category or not. Yeah, 1 stage is there a little bit. So first 2, 3 category, 3rd category there is 1. So that shows clearly that maintenance standard in national highway is better compared to others, and which is, we know it, but we want to see through our analysis whether our analysis is giving us the right result or not. So now we know that these are the 2 stages, 3 stages we need to do something to start with. Maintenance should be done there. Or what you can do, you can take first 3 categories. That's what I'm saying. The whole thing is up to the planner now. He may say that, okay, I will first 2 categories I'll take together, and only I will be doing potholes. That's all, nothing else, and see how it improves. So here again, the screenshot of the display of optimum number of groupings. So there is no need. Now, question is what we need to do. If cracking is there, what is the solution for that? For low category bitumen binder having low viscosity, treatment is this. For medium, because we need to know the solution. If we know that there is a pothole, what solution is there and how much it will cost, you need to know. Or if it is cracks are there, how to seal the cracks, what method you are going to use, and how much it will cost. So that data is very much important for this. So that we have collected from guidelines of the IRC 82 has given that. Accordingly, we have taken that for cracking, for low cracking, medium cracking, high cracking, these are the kinds of treatment that we'll have to make. For raveling, these are the treatments. Low, medium, and high, these are the treatments that we'll have to go for. For potholes, these are the treatments. So what we need to do is clear now. If I want to improve this road and there are cracks of low quality, I need to do this. The next question is how much it will cost. That will take up. So after consulting with the local PWD engineers, one treatment was selected and their cost was found from the basic. Actually, every year, each PWD come up with a basic book which tells us the cost, unit cost of each kind of thing. And also type of treatment already it is given in IRC 82. So if this is the distress, then what we need to do? That already we are picking up from there, from IRC. Now, how much it will cost for that per unit? We are getting it from the local PWD. They have got a handbook every year they get it. So accordingly, we have done it. So as you can see here, the cracking low, medium, high for spraying bitumen binder to or tack coat, the cost is 6.5 per square meter rupees. It is a few years back, it must have increased by now. Then for fog cell, it is 9 rupees. For sand bitumen premix patching, it is 12 per square meter. So what I have got now, I know the stretches, I know the distresses I have to take care of. How we are going to do that is available from the IRC and how much it will cost. That is also there from the PWD schedule. Now what we will be doing, now what kind of money is available to me? I will have to now take it. Now for each stage, we can find out the total cost of improving it because we know all the distresses, we know what we need to do, and we know the cost. So what is the total cost for improving the quality of that particular stage is known to us. So budget was selected, let us say because we have changed the budget. Let us say it is limited budget, 100,000 or 10 lakhs. So if this much of money is available, what you can do? As the potholes have very high contribution on roughness, it is a decision that has been taken by we have taken it. That means the person who is dealing with this, he will have to take it. As the pothole has very high contribution on roughness and causes discomfort to the road users, it was decided to repair the potholes of all the 3 severity levels of all the 3 stretches. So a decision has been taken that instead of improving one of the stretches fully, all the 3 stretches in the first category only will take care of the potholes first. That is a decision that has been taken by the local PW, let us say. They can take such decisions. And after that, we calculated your program will give us how much will be the total cost of just filling in the potholes in the 3 roads. It can be huge amount of money. Then you go to the next level. Can you hear me, by the way? Because it is showing some instability. Ankit, you can hear me, is it?
Yes, sir. Sir, I can hear you.
Okay. It was showing something anyway. The fund required for each is now for this, just improving potholes. By putting potholes, we are getting a total cost of this one. So we are still left with money. You have got budgetary allocation much more than that. So next you decide what to do. So once you do that, again, already you have seen, once you take care of that, automatically the IRA value will change. So it will may come in the next category now, because those 3 stages, their condition has improved. So again, this whole process is being repeated, and we'll have to find out which is coming to the group 1 group, because this grouping will change, because 3 of them, they have improved in their quality. They'll not be in the top quality now. Top means in that sense the worst condition now. We have taken care of them. So it will go back. Again, it will calculate and give us a new table, which tells us which groups are coming in the top level now. Now, after the second iteration, we have found that M4 and M2, they are coming in the worst category. That is, we need to take care of them immediately. So after repairing all the potholes, the stretches S1, S2 fell in the third. Now from the first two, if you look into the previous table, S1 and S2 are in the top category, number 1. Now after this, they have come to the third category, that is not in the priority basis. And stretch M1 fell in the second group. The M1 was then in the first group. Now it has come to it has got many other distresses other than potholes. So it has come to second. So again, we are doing that. So who should get the first one? So as I have mentioned, this is a decision they will have to take. One option is to go for that in the previous slides, all these 3 stretches. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. In this stretch, one possibility was that S1, M1, S2, it will make all the distresses will taking care of that. It may be pothole, it may be cracking, it may be rutting. All together, we can make it very good road. Then your total cost will go up in those things. But they have taken a decision, we are showing it in this way, that no, we are not going to improve it fully, but only fill in the potholes, and what will happen, let us see. So this is a decision the PWD engineers will have to take. So now again, it is M4 and M2, they are coming in the top level, and those who are at the top, they have come down to third and second level. Again, the clustering is being done. 2 stretches are there in the top category, 4 in the second, third, etc., etc. Once again, the potholes of 3 severity levels were selected, and again, repair was done. What repair we're going to do, it is up to us. In this case, we have thought, okay, only potholes we are going to take care of to start with, but you can consider all of them together or few of them together. depending on the budgetary requirement. So we are doing it intentionally because our budget is limited. So we try to take a decision so that most of the stretches are in slightly better shape. That is the whole purpose. Otherwise, if you make 2 stretches very good, others remain same, and after 1 year, next budget comes, those roads will become very, very poor. So whether we should go for that, or we should just do some treatment here and there so that they can maintain a certain level. So this process will continue until the whole budgetary allocation is being exhausted. And in this case, first we have shown only for 100,000. After each iteration, different types of maintenance option will be coming. And this discussion we have done based on only 10 lakh of rupees is available to you. And the study, the change in pavement roughness in each stretch, also will recalculate accordingly, it will give, because once we have taken some measures, the roughness will change. So by how much? So that will also be calculated based on the data that we have fit in. After that, what we have done, we have now changed this 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, and then seen how it has changed. So if you have got 50 lakhs, as you can see, the international roughness index has gone down below 3 for all the stretches. Whereas if you can spend 40 lakhs, I think most of the, except for 1 or 2, as you can see, the after maintenance budget 40 lakh, a few stretches are still slightly more than 3, but it is almost less than 3 or equal to 3 all the time. So if your aim is to reach that value, let us say international roughness index should not be more than 3, then if you spend 50 lakhs, then you can achieve that for all the stretches, 45 stretches. But you cannot expect you'll be having that much of money. So we'll have to take a call. Suppose you have got 25 lakhs or 20 lakhs, then what you can do? So these graphs or the, different colors, it shows you how it is changing. The IRA value is changing by investment. Now, as I have mentioned, you can work on all the stretches independently. You can make little bit better for all the stretches, or you can make some of the stretches excellent and some of the stretches you can decide to keep as it is, but that will be a problem of next year. This condition will further deteriorate, the investment will be more. So that decision we are leaving it with the engineers. They will take a call what will be the best solution for them and what kind of budgetary allocation they may expect in the next year. Depending on that, they will have to take a call. So I think this already I have discussed. When the budget raised to 400,000, 40 lakhs, the roughness was equal to less than 3 meter per kilometer in all the stretches almost. So you'll be happy with spending 40 lakhs if you have that one for 45 stretches. If not, then you'll have to take some conscious decision what you are going to do about that. So this is the conclusion now. Basically, the initial roughness value for the fresh laid pavement, as we are lucky to get such kind of fresh laid stretches. So we found out the national highway is 2.4, etc., etc. The relationship developed between the roughness and the pavement distance in this study could be used to predict the current roughness as any other pavement. So this equation can be used in anywhere if you want to know the IRI value, because you cannot have the instrument to be taken in each and every place. So if you can get those data, put there, and you can IRI value you can get from there. And the software developed in this study can be used to take maintenance decisions so as to distribute the available funds in a proper manner. So this software that has been developed will give us the freedom to choose what we are going to do, because money is limited, the fund is limited. What we should do for maintaining the road of the road network, that kind of decision can be taken. So as I have mentioned, it has got full freedom of choosing this or that. The policy decision must be decided by the local engineers to take it up. So this is the whole the study that was carried out by Amarendra Chandra. And as you know, we cannot discuss everything. There's a whole outline. The whole purpose, I hope it is clear what we tried to do. So basically, we have tried to get the data, develop relationship, then different stages. We have tried to club them in different categories depending on their condition. And then with the limited amount of budget available, how we can take decisions to improve maintain the roads. That is the whole purpose of this study. Thank you very much. And questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, sir, for your very knowledgeable lecture. Now, may I request the participants to please raise your hands, and if there is any question, we'll unmute you. Or you can type the question in the chat box also. We'll wait for 30-40 seconds for you to either type the question in the chat box, or any one of you may raise your hand.
If there is no question, at least any doubt whether I could explain or not, that is, I would like to know.
I think, sir, there's no hand that has been raised.
No.
And I think nothing has come in the chat box. So, sir, if you allow me.
So what does it mean, Ankit?
Sir,
One is that it is fully clear, otherwise they have not understood anything.
No, sure, sir. It would be definitely clear. It's just that when it gets the lunch time in every session, the questions reduces. So,
okay.
So someone is asking, sir, the software is available freely.
Yeah, we can share, but I don't have it with me. It is with Amarendra only. Whether still he is having it with him or not, I don't know. But we can share it. I'll talk to him.
Okay.
If he's available, we can share it.
Okay, sir. Right.
But
sir.
I must thank all the participants for patiently listening to me, and also thanks for not raising questions.
Sir, so my heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Despite of your busy schedule, you could find time to grace this FDP by sharing your knowledge with the participants across India. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we will wait for your other similar lectures because you are part of the IIT Jammu team. So, we'll take your help whenever required, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I'm always there. Thank you so much, Ankit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to all the participants.
Well, so this is for the participants. The next lecture will be taken by Professor Manoranjan Parida from IIT Roorkee. He'll be joining around 2:20. And we can join back. I would request the participants to join 10 minutes early, which is around 2:20, so that we can introduce the speaker to all the participants and he can start well in time. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.